Raquel Welch was the ultimate icon of 1970s glamour. In 1988, Christina Applegate was a rising star in Hollywood. In 1959, Italy was abuzz with the production of Ben-Hur. The 1975 Telluride Film Festival was an unforgettable event for movie buffs everywhere, but especially so for those lucky enough to witness Jack Nicholson and Angelica Houston in attendance. In 1979, Donnie and Marie Osmond were the epitome of cool. In 1957, two of Hollywood's most iconic stars, Joan Collins and Jane Mansfield, were brought together on the set of John Ford's classic film, The Wayward Bus. Barbara Eden was the perfect woman to play the iconic role of Jeannie in I Dream of Jeannie, a beloved television show that ran from 1965 to 1970. In 1984, a young Demi Moore was just starting to make her mark on Hollywood. The beautiful Sophia Loren, 1950s. Janis Joplin was an icon of the 60s counterculture and a rock legend. Barbra Streisand is an icon of the silver screen, and her 1972 comedy classic, What's Up, Doc?, cemented her place in cinematic history. Who remembers wearing tube socks in the 70s? Stevie Nicks of Fleetwood Mac is an icon in the music industry, and her U.S. tour during the 1970s was nothing short of legendary. In the 1950s, Elizabeth Taylor was an undeniable icon of glamour and beauty. In the 1960s, legendary drummer Gene Krupa was a beacon of inspiration for aspiring drummers Peter Criss and Jerry Nolan. In the 1960s, lovely actress Jessica Walter was making a name for herself in Hollywood. The legendary Anne Margaret graced the stage in Vietnam in 1966, bringing joy and entertainment to our troops. John Belushi was a comedic legend who left an indelible mark on the world of comedy. In 1966, four of the most iconic Tarzan actors came together for a publicity photo that would go down in history. In 1976, Andy Gibb married his high school sweetheart, Kim Reeder, in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by family and friends. Valerie Bertinelli was a 70s icon. She made her television debut in 1975 on the hit show One Day at a Time, and quickly became an American sweetheart. It was a triple dose of coolness in 1963 when James Garner, Steve McQueen, and James Coburn came together for the iconic film, The Great Escape. In 1972, Southwest Airlines stewardesses donned their groovy uniforms and boarded the planes for a journey of flight. In 1984, the world was blessed with a beautiful new addition to the British royal family, Prince Harry. In 1974, legendary photographer Richard Avedon captured the iconic image of Cher wearing a white feathered dress. In 1962, Ed Sullivan and Jackie Gleason took a break from their usual routines to enjoy golf in Paris. In 1982, Drew Barrymore captured the hearts of audiences everywhere with her iconic performance in E.T.R. Crumb's iconic artwork, Keep on Truckin' from 1968, is an enduring symbol of the counterculture movement. Sheena Easton was the epitome of 1980s glamour and style. In 1972, Janet and Michael Jackson were just beginning to make a name for themselves. In the 1980s, Dolly Parton was a beacon of glamour and style. In 1980, Paul Hogan and Olivia Newton-John had the honor of meeting with Queen Elizabeth II. It's hard to imagine anyone other than Michael J. Fox playing the iconic role of Marty McFly in Back to the Future. McDonald's menu in the early 1970s. Al Pacino on the set of Scarface, 1983. From 1984 to 1991, Robert Downey Jr. and Sarah Jessica Parker were one of Hollywood's most iconic couples. Couple sitting on top of their groovy van at the Woodstock Festival, 1969. The iconic scene of Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta dancing to "You're the One That I Want" on set for Grease in 1977 will live forever in pop culture history. Faye Dunaway was an absolute vision in her 1967 classic, The Happening. In 1983, the world was captivated by a love affair between two of music's most iconic stars, Prince and Vanity. In 1956, a young Clint Eastwood started making his mark on Hollywood. On July 28, 1973, Farrah Fawcett and Lee Majors said "I do" in a romantic ceremony at the Church of Our Lady of the Angels in Los Angeles. In the 70s, rock star Steven Tyler and horror film icon Linda Blair were two of the most iconic figures in entertainment. It's Howdy Doody Time, the classic children's television show that first aired in 1947 and ran until 1960. In the 1980s, Burt Reynolds and Sally Fields were one of Hollywood's hottest couples. Cheryl Tiegs' iconic 1977 poster is a reminder of the glamour and style of that era. Tracy Lords in the film Not of This Earth, 1988. This hot pink 1961 Buick Flamingo is a classic car that will turn heads wherever you go. In 1965, Lucy and Lucy beamed with joy as they posed for a photo. In 1968, the Winterland Ballroom in San Francisco was a hotbed of music and energy. Cruising down the highway in a classic car from the 70s was an experience like no other. In the 80s, Johnny Depp was America's. Audrey Hepburn's kitchen in 1953 was a cozy and inviting space full of nostalgia. In the 1950s, Johnny Unitas was a football icon and one of America's most beloved sports stars. It was 1963. And a young Jim Morrison, just 19 years old at the time, had made his way to Tallahassee for an exciting football game.